through test 2-1 review right now. Number 1, it says, which of the following numbers when multiplied by 5.5 is equal to 1? Remember we were saying that this is straight from your test, so it does say which of the following, and then there is nothing there. That's because your test is going to be multiple choice, guys. So essentially this question is asking you for the reciprocal, okay? The reciprocal of 5 1/2. So the first thing I'm going to do is change 5 1/2 to an improper fraction. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Okay, and then the reciprocal is just the inverse or the flip of the number. So the reciprocal is 2/11. Number 2, while playing volleyball, Ralph drank a quarter of his jug of water. The jug holds 60, I'm sorry, on your review it doesn't say 64, it says 48. If the jug held 48 fluid ounces of water, how much did he drink? So essentially you're wanting to find 1/4 of 48. Okay, another way to think about this is to think of a visual of an actual jug of water. All right, I just turned it on its side. I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces, right? And Ralph is going to drink one of the 4 pieces. Well, I know that the whole is made up of 48. So when I cut 48 into those 4 pieces, I know each piece is going to get 12 ounces because I divided 48 by 4. So Ralph drank 12 ounces. Now the math behind that is simply 1/4 times 48. Remember, whole numbers go over 1, so you end up with 48 over 4, which is right where we were over there as well. So going back to my diagram over here, if Ralph would have had 2/4, aka 1/2 of the jug, he would have had 24 ounces. If Ralph had 3/4 of the jug, he would have had 36 ounces, so on. Okay, number 3. A township is a U.S. land measurement of 55 square miles. How many square miles are in 5.5 townships, okay? So if I know one township is 55 miles, I want to figure out how many 5.5 are. When you're given the amount for one and you want to figure out how much it is for more than one, so 5.5 more, 5.5, you're doing multiplication. So your problem is 55 times 5 1/2. There are several ways you could choose to solve this problem. You could say, all right, well, I need to put my whole number over 1. I need to convert my improper fraction, my mixed number to an improper fraction and then multiply. Or, you guys, we've been telling you for months to memorize your fraction decimal conversions. 5.5 is equivalent to 5.5 or 5 5/10, okay? 5.5 times 55, and we know how to multiply with decimals, so I think I'm going to choose to solve it like that because this seems like it might go a little bit faster. 5 times 5 is 25, carry your 2, you have 5 times 5 again, plus 2 is 27. Moving on, you have another 5 times 5 is 25, and then another 27. When you add them all up, you get, I messed up, 5, 4, 3. There we go. Miss C made a math error. 302, so 3,025 with the 1 decimal needing to go back in. So you end up with 302.5 or 302.5 miles, square miles. Okay? So don't be afraid to use your fraction decimal conversions. It'll help you when solving these problems. We tell you guys this stuff for a reason, okay? Number 4, a bag of flour contains 9 1/3 cups of flour. How many cakes can be made from one bag if each cake requires 1 3/4 cups of flour? So on number 4, you are given a whole or a total. The total is 9 1/3 cups of flour. So you have 9 1/3 cups of flour. From that, you want to make individual cakes. So when you're given a whole amount and you want to cut it into individual pieces, that operation is division. So your problem is 9 1/3 divided by 1 3/4. So to solve this, first step you need to do is convert your mixed numbers to improper fractions. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. So this becomes 28/3 divided by 7/4. This step right here is the most crucial and critical step, and it's the most frequently skipped step by you guys. Okay? You need to understand that you need to rewrite your problem as division first before you go through and then you multiply by the inverse or the reciprocal. Okay? So then it becomes 28/3 times 4/7. You guys are trying to skip this step right here and jump straight to multiplication. And because you're doing that, you're making really silly mistakes. Okay, so now that I have my problem written correctly, I'm going to go through and simplify before I multiply. I can take 7 from 7 and I'm going to change 28 to a 4. 4 times 4 is 16/3, which then converts down to 5 1/3 of a cake. However, when you go to a bakery, you can't go up and order a third of a cake, so the bakery can make 5 whole cakes. Number 5, Bailey baked a pan of brownies. She decided to share 5/8 of it with her family. Her brother ate 2/5 of the portion meant for her family. What fraction of the total pan did her brother eat? So you want to know what 2/5 of the 5/8 is, okay? If it's not automatically jumping out to you that this is a multiplication problem, I highly recommend drawing a picture on this problem in particular. So you start out with your pan of brownies. I'm going to cut it into 8 slices. So 1, 2, 5, 6. All right. From there, her family, she decided to share 5 of the 8 pieces. So I'm going to shade 5 of my 8 pieces. All right. After she figured out how much she wanted to share with her family, her brother came along and he ate 2/5 of that portion. So now I'm going to cut my pan into fifths. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And out of my fifths, her brother ate 2 of the fifths. So 1, 2. And when you do this and you actually draw the lines on the pan, it's really obvious, I feel like, to see, okay, well, here's the overlap. I cut it into 40 total pieces, and my brother ate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those pieces, which simplifies to 1/4. Okay? Now, mathematically, you would go through and you would say, all right, well, 5/8 times 2/5, that gives me 10/40, which simplifies to 1/4 as well. So either way, you're going to end up with 1/4, just a matter of preference. Maybe the visual of the pan will help you. Number 6, Matt is filling containers of rice. Each container holds 1/4 of a kilogram of rice. He has 12 kilograms. How many containers can he fill? So again, you're starting with a whole, which would be 12 kilograms, and you want to know from that 12, how many times can I divide it into these 4th kilogram containers? So your problem is 12 divided by 1/4. Important to remember, whole numbers go over 1, so you get 12/1 divided by 1/4, which then becomes 12/1 times 4/1, which gives you 48 containers. Number 7, Sarah has a strip of ribbon that is 3/4 of a yard long. She wants to cut that strip into 3/8 yard pieces. How many 3/8 yard pieces can she make from the total? So again, this problem's nice because it told you want to cut that strip. Well, the whole amount is 3/4 of a yard, and I want to cut it into 3/8 pieces. That is going to be division. So 3/4 divided by 3/8, which becomes 3/4 times 8/3. Remember, you can simplify before you multiply. So that gives me 2 pieces. All right, number 8. Mrs. Rodriguez will make name tags for each of the 15 choir and 40 orchestra members. The material for each name tag is 64 cents. What is the total cost of the materials? All right, this is a several step problem. The first thing you need to do is figure out how many people she's actually making a name tag for. So to do that, you're going to add the 15 choir and the 40 orchestra to get 55 total people. From there, you know that the cost per person is 64 cents. So again, this is another example of being given the amount for one item, and now you want to take it more than that. You want to take it 55 times more than that, so it's multiplication, all right? So your question is 55 times 64 cents. Remember, when you're multiplying with decimals, you treat it just like regular multiplication. So you're going to write this as 55 times 64 and just make a note off to the side. When I'm done, I have 2 decimals I have to put back in. 5 times 4 is 20, carry your 2, 6 and 5 is 30, 32, placeholder 20, 32. Okay, and that gives you 35, or 2 decimal second, so $35.20. Number 9. Rebecca bought 2.5 pounds of grapes and paid $4.25. What is the cost per pound? So on this problem, you're given the amount for 2.5 pounds, and now you want to know, okay, how much for 1 pound? This is going to be a division problem. So 425 divided by 2.5. If you're confused about whether or not it's multiplication or division, set up a proportion. So you know 2.5 pounds costs you $4.25. I want to know how much for 1 pound. So how do I go from 2.5 to 1? Well, I divide by 2.5. So then over on the bottom, I would divide by 2.5. So when in doubt, set up a proportion. It'll help you to see what operation you're doing. The issue we have now is that I cannot have my divisor be a decimal. So I need to use my power of 10 to rewrite this. I need to move my decimal 1 time. So I multiply by 10, and my new problem is 42.5 divided by 25. So 42.5 divided by 25. All right. After you write your problem, you move your decimal up. 25 goes into 42 1 time. Goodness. The tricky spot on the board. Okay, that is going to give me 17. I'm going to bring down my 5. 25 goes into 175 7 times. It's money, so there's going to be 2 decimals. So it is $1.70 per pound. And number 10. Number 10 says a grocery store sells steak for $9.30 per pound. What would the cost be for 3.6 pounds? So on number 10, inversely to number 9, you're given the amount for 1, and you want to know how much it is for 3.6. So you're going to be multiplying $9.30 times 3.6. Goodness. So it becomes 9.3 times 3.6. There are 2 decimals, and you just treat it like regular multiplication. 6 times 3 is 18, carry your 1. 6 and 9 is 54, plus 1 is 55. You have your 0, 9, 27. Okay. So that gives you the total for 3.6 pounds of steak, $33.48. It's really important that you guys see the difference between number 9 and number 10 if you're still confused about multiplication and division. On number 9, you were given the amount for more than 1. You were given the amount for 2.5 pounds. So to take it to 1, you had to do division. On number 10, you were given the amount for 1. So if I were to set up a proportion, it would be the $9.30 for 1 pound. I want to know for 3.6 pounds. Okay, so to go from 1 to 3.6, it's multiplication. So if you're still confused about whether or not it's multiplication or division, a proportion would help you very, very much.
And just to carry on to that point, after helping so many kids over the last couple days on these, one thing that I've found is when you're looking at the problem, mostly the division are actually easier to spot. So if you're looking at the question, you just really don't understand what it is, chances are it's a multiplication question. The nice thing is, if you are actually following along, what we're doing on the practice test is exactly the operation you will do on that problem on the actual test. So if you rework this enough, you should get comfortable enough with it to understand exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Our next one, Susie's riding her bike at 16 2/3 miles per hour. If she rode her bike for 2 hours, how many miles did she ride? Looking at our proportions, we have 16 2/3 miles per hour, but I know I'm going for 2 hours. So again, how do I go from 1 to 2? Multiplying by 2. So now that I've got my magic box, and now I'm multiplying by 2, I do 16 2/3 times 2. First thing we do, whole numbers go over 1, and we slam dunk any mixed numbers. So that's going to give me 50 over 3, times 2 over 1. Sorry, phone's ringing. Let me answer it real quick. On this one, I don't have any reductions I can do. So that means we're just straight up multiplying. 50 times 2 gives me 100. 3 times 1 is 3. 100 divided by 3 is going to go 33 times with 1 left over. So 33 1/3 miles for her trip, or what she did in 2 hours. Number 12, each child in a daycare gets 4/5 of a cup of juice every morning. If she has 10 cups of juice, how many children can she give juice? Hopefully you see that this one is a division problem. I got the 10 cups, each child gets 4/5. So that means that 10 is being divided into 4/5 cup servings. Division, whole numbers go over 1. Then we do our keep, change it to multiply, because we're going to multiply by the inverse. We do have one reduction. I can take a 2 out of those numbers. Now we have 5 times 5 is 25. 1 times 2 is 2. Further simplifying, that's going to go 12 1/2 times. On this one, it's really key that you pay attention to the question. If I have 12 1/2, can I cut a child in half? No. So she can give 12 children juice. That half is just going to be leftover juice in the bottle to mix with the next one. Our next one, George dug a trench. It's 10 feet long. He needs the trench to be 4 1/4 times this length. How long will it be? This one's actually really simple because they even told you what to do. So we're just doing 10 times the 4 1/4. Again, whole numbers go over 1. Slam dunk any mixed numbers. So rewrite that as 10 over 1 times 17 over 4. One reduction that we can do. 5 times 17 gives me 85. 1 times 2 gives me 2. Sorry, that's a 2. Let's try that again. Further simplifying that, I get 42 1/2 left over. Here's another one that actually works really well if you've gotten comfortable with your decimal fraction conversions. 1/4 should be an easy one because we're talking 1/4. So if you say it, then that should be very easy for us to say. A quarter would be 25 cents or 0.25. I'm multiplying it by 10. And as we just went over in our powers of 10 exercise the other day, anytime I multiply a power of 10, all I'm doing is moving my decimal one place. So 42.5 feet. Either one of those would be an acceptable solution. Do realize that on your chest, because it is multiple choice, that if the answer may be as a fraction, it may be as a decimal, you need to be comfortable with both of those to understand that you do have the correct answer regardless of which way you do that one. So 42.5 feet will be the total length. Mr. Jones is a farmer. He grows vegetables. 5/12 of his land is corn. 1/4 of the corn is white corn. What fraction of his land is white corn? So we're looking for that second part of the fraction. So mathematically, this one's a straight up multiplication. 5/12 times 1/4. We don't have any reductions. 5 times 1 is 5. 12 times 4 is 48. So 5/48 of the land is white corn. This one actually works pretty decently for using the models that we showed you as well. So if I look at his whole field, and I divide it into 12ths, then I colored in 5 of those 12 to show the 5/12 that is done in corn. I can then look at the counterpoint, which is 1/4 of that is the white corn. So if I take it and now divide it in fourths the other way, and we use our highlighter with our second color, we can see that one of those fourths is the white corn. What we've now ended up with is that we have 5 of them now that have the double highlighting, but we're up to 48 total squares. So that's where that 5/48 comes from. Number 15, I'll be honest, is probably one of the most confusing as far as marking your text and figuring it out, because it says in here that the mother giraffe is 13 and 5/8 feet tall, and it says she is 4 times taller than her baby giraffe. How tall is her baby giraffe? If you just focus in on that times instead of realizing what it's saying she is 4 times taller than the baby, but now we're asking about the baby, so I need to look at the opposite operation, which would be division. But if you did the math on this, you would have said 13 and 5/8 times 4 would have given you 109 eighths times 4 would have been 54.5 feet. And then you use your logic test. Does it make sense that the baby's 54.5 feet tall when the mother's 13? No. So you obviously did the wrong operation if you set that up as multiplication. Instead, this is a division, because it said she is 4 times taller, meaning if I'm going the other way, I'm going to have to divide. So really what we're supposed to do, 13 and 5/8 divided by 4, we again do our slam dunk, we get 109 over 8, change it, divided by 4, any whole numbers go over 1, then we do our keep change flip, times 1/4. Now I don't have any reductions, so it's just 109 divided by 32. So when I do the math, 109 divided by 32, it's going to go 3 times. 96 gives me 13 left over, so that's my new numerator. So my final answer is the baby giraffe is 3 and 13/32 feet tall. And that makes a lot more logical sense than saying that the baby was 54 feet tall. So that's a really good one because of the real world application, and one place where word problems can actually be a benefit. If I did the wrong math, it should show up very clearly. On this one, Cindy made a banner for the football game that was 11 feet long. Betsy made a banner that was 0.6 times as long as Cindy's. How long was Betsy's banner? That one, it's honestly just as simple as it looks. It's 11 times 6/10. Remember, keep track of my decimal places, then I forget about them. So I get 66. Add one decimal place back in. So Betsy's was 6.6 feet long. 17, Richard bought 22 and 4/10 pounds of potting soil, 45 and 4/10 pounds of sand. Richard got them on sale for, and your review said 75 cents per pound. This one you could go two ways. For me, the easier way is just since they were the same price, go ahead and put the two pieces of it together. We had 22.4 pounds and 54 and 4/10 pounds. Gives us 8/10, 767 and 8/10. All of those are at 75 cents a pound. Gives us 40, 35, 39, 33, 56, 49, 54, 47. So we spent a total of $50.85 because I had 3 decimal places that I needed to go into my answer. So Richard spent $50.85. In 2002, Rachel ran 8 cross-country races. The total distance she ran was 19.2 miles. Each race was the same distance. How many miles did she run in each race? On this one, again, it's straight up division. I know I had 19.2 total miles. She ran 8 races. So that's going to go twice. My decimal, don't forget, goes straight up. So each race was 2.4 miles. Last week, a gallon of gas cost $2.97. Donald put, and in yours it said $2.90. Donald put 13.3 gallons of gas in his car. How much did Donald spend on gas? Another straight up multiplication. This is another one. 1 gallon was $2.90. And I want to know, he put in 13.3 gallons. How much did he spend? Straight up times 13.3. So all I'm doing is taking that 290, multiplying by 13.3. So 290, 270, 290. I'm pretty sure we did 290. Times 13.3. I've got 3 decimal places. 27.8, 0078. And then 2 zeros, 092, adding up my columns. Good penmanship, critically important on these guys. Make sure you keep track of exactly what is going in each line, so that I now add 3 decimal places in on my final answer. So Donald spent $38.57. Our last one, and I'll be honest, to me, this last one is another one of the really hard ones to figure out your operation. But if you do it and take your time again, it's not too bad. Each room is a half liter. Jamie has 8 liters of paint. How many rooms can she paint? Our proportions are another friend of ours for each room. That's a number 1. One room is a half a liter of paint. And I know that I have 8 liters. So what I'm doing is saying, how do I get from 1/2 to 8? So my ratio constant ends up being times 16. So I'm doing this times 16, and I get 16. Now, since they didn't really show us this when we were looking at our proportion, they gave us the 8 liters and said each was a half. Well, if I go half to 1/8, I'm multiplying. If I go 8 to 1/2, I'm actually dividing. So it's 8 divided by 1/2 mathematically. Whole numbers go over 1. Then we multiply by the inverse. Gives me 16 over 1, which simplifies to 16. So 16 rooms can be painted. So hopefully at this point we've given you enough information to help you feel confident on how to set all these problems up. Again, with multiple choice, don't get overconfident, guys. And when we made up the multiple choice answers, we said what happens if they set it up with the wrong operation. If you do it mathematically correct with the wrong operation, that will be one of your choices. So you have to be confident in how you're setting these up. It's really the biggest part of it. The nice thing is with the multiple choice, you've got a quick check. If your answer is not listed there, you have made a math error somewhere. So the idea is hopefully we can at least cut out the math errors and make sure everybody's just setting the problems up right and doing them correctly mathematically. If you have any questions, you still got a couple chances. You can come see me tomorrow at lunch or tomorrow after school. We will also, I'm out next week, so I don't know if there'll be any lunch tutoring available next week. Miss Bobnock will be our long-term sub, so hopefully that will help out as well. Do make sure you complete your pre-test, guys, or your practice test, and bring it to class with you for the test, because you need to make sure you understood how to do this. That'll help remind you if you've got any questions, and I'll offer some last-minute cramming, especially if you have us later in the day. Thanks, guys. Good luck, and I will see you shortly.